The morning sun stretched over the quiet hills of Meadow Creek, painting golden rays across the small-town elementary school. The wind carried the faint scent of hay and morning dew from the nearby ranches. Miss Clara Bennett, the new sign language teacher, adjusted her glasses nervously as she entered the classroom. It was her first day at Willow Ridge Elementary. Despite her gentle smile, Clara had always been shy, preferring the soft world of books and gestures over loud conversations. She had learned sign language as a child to communicate with her little brother who couldn't hear, and now it had become her life's calling, to help children like him find their voice in silence. She walked to the board and began arranging flashcards when the door creaked open. A tiny girl with curly blonde hair and big brown eyes stood hesitantly at the door, clutching a stuffed pony. Her name tag read, Emma. Clara crouched down to her level and smiled warmly. "Hi there, sweetheart." But the girl didn't reply, just tilted her head, her lips unmoving. Then it clicked. Emma couldn't hear. Clara's heart melted. She slowly raised her hands and signed, "Good morning." Emma's eyes widened. For a moment, surprise and joy mixed across her little face like sunshine breaking through clouds. She dropped her toy and signed back, clumsy but excited, "Good morning, teacher." Clara's smile grew wider. "You know sign language." She signed back gently. Emma nodded fast, grinning from ear to ear. That one simple exchange filled the silent classroom with more warmth than any spoken word could have. From that moment, Clara and Emma became inseparable during class. Emma would run to her every morning, her laughter silent but full of life. The two shared stories through signs, about ponies, cookies, and stars, and Clara often stayed after hours to prepare small visual lessons just for her. But there was something else about Emma. Her clothes, her polished boots, the car that picked her up each day. It wasn't an ordinary car. It was a gleaming black pickup with the logo, Silver Oak Ranch, on the side. Clara had heard of that place. It was one of the biggest ranches in the county, owned by a man named Jack Hunter. People called him the Iron Rancher. Strong, successful, and rough around the edges, Jack was known for being untouchable, both in business and in heart. Clara never thought much of it, until one afternoon. The bell had rung, and children were rushing out. Emma lingered behind, waiting by the classroom door, her little hands clutching her backpack straps. Clara smiled, signing, "Your dad's coming." Emma nodded, her eyes lighting up as the sound of heavy boots echoed down the hallway. Clara turned, and there he was. Jack Hunter was taller than she'd imagined. Broad shoulders, sun-tanned skin, and eyes the color of storm clouds. His rough denim jacket smelled faintly of leather and dust, but his voice, low and careful, held a surprising gentleness when he said, "You must be Miss Bennett." Emma won't stop talking. "Well, signing, about you." Clara blushed faintly, unsure how to respond. "She's a wonderful student," she said softly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Jack smiled, just barely, but it was enough to make Clara's chest tighten unexpectedly. "Appreciate what you're doing for her," he said, glancing at his daughter, who was signing something fast to him. Clara chuckled. "She's telling you I gave her a star sticker today." Jack looked down, a rare softness touching his rugged features. "Guess I owe you one, Miss Bennett." She hasn't smiled like this in a long time. As he walked away with Emma, Clara stood at the door, her heart fluttering strangely. She told herself it was nothing, just gratitude from a father. But the truth was, the way Jack looked back, once, his eyes lingering for just a heartbeat, felt like the beginning of something neither of them saw coming. That night, Clara couldn't sleep. She replayed the way Emma's hands moved when she laughed, and how Jack's voice softened every time he said her name. She didn't know what kind of life a man like him lived, but part of her wanted to find out. And out on Silver Oak Ranch, under the same moonlight, Jack sat on his porch, watching Emma asleep through the window. His hands were calloused from work, but his thoughts were gentle. "A teacher with kind eyes," he muttered. Didn't think someone could make Emma light up like that. For the first time in years, he felt something shift, something warm and terrifying all at once. Little did they both know that one simple greeting in sign language had already started changing both their worlds forever. The weeks turned into months, and the small classroom became a world of color for little Emma. Her confidence bloomed like spring flowers under Clara's patient care. The once shy child now raised her hand first in every activity, her laughter filling the air, even if no sound escaped her lips. And every afternoon, without fail, Jack Hunter would arrive at the school gates. At first, his visits were brief. A polite nod, a quiet, "thank you," and a hand resting protectively on Emma's shoulder. But soon, those moments stretched. He began lingering near the doorway, asking small questions about Emma's progress. "She's signing faster now," he'd say with quiet pride. Clara would nod, smiling. "She's a natural. You should see how she helps the others." Some days he'd stay a little longer, leaning against the doorframe, watching Clara teach with that steady, unreadable gaze of his. The children adored her, so did Emma, and before long, Jack realized, he was starting to as well. But falling for someone wasn't in Jack's plan. His life was the ranch, the fences, the cattle, the deals, the responsibility. He had lost his wife in a car accident 4 years ago, and he'd promised himself never to open that part of his heart again. Love, he believed, only brought pain. Yet every time he saw Clara's hands move gracefully through the air, translating silence into meaning, something inside him cracked. It was as if her gentleness reminded him that even broken things could still speak. One Friday afternoon, a storm rolled across Meadow Creek. The sky turned gray, the wind howled, and the rain lashed against the school windows. Most of the children had already left, but Emma's ride was late. Clara stayed with her, reading picture books by the soft light of the classroom lamp. When the thunder roared, Emma flinched, hiding her face in Clara's shoulder. Clara held her close, signing softly, "It's okay, sweet girl. It's just clouds talking." Emma peeked up and smiled, feeling safe again. That's when the door burst open. Jack, dripping wet, his hat in one hand and worry written across his face. "I'm so sorry," he said breathlessly. "Truck got stuck by the old bridge." Clara stood, brushing a few raindrops from her own sleeve. "She's fine," she said, smiling warmly. "We've been keeping each other company." Jack's eyes softened as he looked at them together, his daughter giggling silently, the teacher's arm around her. It was the kind of sight that carved itself deep into a man's soul. "Come on," Clara said, grabbing an umbrella. "I'll walk you both out." The rain poured harder as they made their way to the truck. Clara slipped once on the muddy path, and Jack caught her by the wrist, steadying her. For a heartbeat, they stood close, too close, his breath warm against her skin, his eyes searching hers. Neither spoke. The rain filled the silence, but somehow, it felt like the world was saying everything they couldn't. When they reached the truck, Emma waved goodbye through the window. But as Jack took the wheel, he hesitated. "Miss Bennett," he said quietly through the open door, "you ever been out to Silver Oak Ranch?" Clara blinked. "No, I haven't." "Then maybe it's time you do. Emma's been askin'." She smiled, heart fluttering. "I'd love to." 2 days later, Clara's little blue car rolled through the long, winding dirt road that led to Silver Oak Ranch. The vast fields stretched endlessly, dotted with horses and oak trees swaying under the warm breeze. Jack was already out front, wearing his usual flannel and boots, but there was something softer in his smile that day. Emma came running, wrapping her arms around Clara's legs. She grabbed Clara's hand and began dragging her toward the barn, signing excitedly about her favorite pony. Clara laughed, following her inside. The air was filled with the scent of hay and leather, the sounds of horses stamping gently. Jack leaned against a post, watching them. For the first time in years, the ranch didn't feel lonely. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, Jack and Clara stood outside the barn, watching Emma feed the horses. "She looks happy," Clara said softly. She hasn't been this happy since her mother passed, Jack admitted. His voice was low, rough with memory. She stopped talking, stopped smiling. Doctors said time would fix it, but, he trailed off, looking away. Then you came along. You gave her back a piece of herself I thought was gone forever. Clara's throat tightened. Jack, I didn't do anything special. He turned to her,